Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys, is another Star Wars movie review. We're getting closer to the LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga game, and today we're going to be tackling the original trilogy, Episode 4, A New Hope. Now this has Episode 4, 5, 6 in it. This is just like a little, original trilogy, collection. It's got, all the discs in it and all that, so pretty cool. But yeah, so you're like, oh, that's Darth Vader. No, it's all three in one. But there, okay, I don't want to break the disc again. So, I think, first of all, there are two ways to look at A New Hope, right? The first way is, this is the first film that was made, so you obviously have to look at it in that respect, and then you also look at it in the second way as the fourth film in a 9-part saga. And that's how I'm looking at it, because when I watch Star Wars, I go 1 to 9, not 4, 1, 3. You can do whatever the fudge you want. I do 1 to 9. So, for this being said, I just want to quickly say that I think this film holds up better than Episode 1 and 2 in terms of writing, in terms of acting, in terms of editing, essentially everything. I mean, there is not one. Alright, well, there's a few. I'll start out with the negative, but for the most part, to recap that, this film is better made than the prequels, and I don't know why that is, because it's older. You'd think the newer films would be better, but, again, I love 1 and 2 and 3, but, compared to even 1 and 2 especially, this film is better. So, I'll start out with the negatives first. There are not a whole lot, and I do think, starting with Revenge of the Sith, this is where my negatives, 3, basically through 9, it's kind of where the negatives kind of fall off, because really, I really only have issues with 1 and 2 in a few scenes. In this film, there's 1 or 2 moments, like, for example, the whole, look, sir, droids. It's iconic and it's funny, but it is kind of dumb. Like, the stormtroopers are supposed to be intense and, they're murderers. They're evil people. And, he's just like, look, sir, droids. Holds up, like, a little milk cap looking thing. It's like, all right, look, they could have easily shot it where, they go, look, sir. And then he, like, does this in the sand, and he uncovers a piece of a droid. He goes, I think, droids, something other than, look, sir, droids. It's like, Jesus Christ, come on. So that's kind of goofy. There is another scene where, the Han Solo's like, oh, we'll be there in, 200 hours. And like 5 minutes later, all right, well there, so the whole time aspect, again, that's a nitpick, not really a negative. It's just something I picked up on, so that won't really affect the score, but, it is just kind of, it's whatever, but, it's not a big deal. Another issue is that, there are certain scenes where George Lucas likes to, and I kind of noticed it in the prequels, George likes to take things and reuse them. There's a shot where, Luke and all the Republic heroes are kind of entering the Death Star, the trench run, and it's a really awesome shot. It's really cool. It's like a first-person shot, and it kind of zooms in like this through the trench, and they replay the exact same shot twice. Now, I don't have that big of a problem with it because it's a good shot, but they do reuse the shot. There are scenes where Aunt Beru goes, Luke, Luke, like that, and she goes, Luke, like freaking 3 times, and, maybe it's me, maybe that's just how she said it, and they didn't, or George just took the audio clip and tripled it in editing, I don't know. It is the exact same sound, though, so again, it does seem a bit lazy that, again, it's a nitpick. In terms of, like I said, a real issue would be, the look, sir, droids, that's kind of wonky and weird. The lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader on the Death Star is kind of trash. I think Episode 2, when Anakin and Count Dooku are in the dark in Geonosis and they're kind of doing this, like I mentioned, that is hands down the worst lightsaber fight in history. This is the second worst. And I get it. Alec Guinness, he's he's great as Obi-Wan. And he's an old man. I get it. I get it. But, going from the prequels where, Obi-Wan's doing all these flips and shit to compare to just like, it's very boring. He does a really needless spin, which, Star Wars is full of needless spins. It's kind of just the thing at this point. But, it is goofy, it is funny, because it's supposed to be, maybe the most not intense fight in the world, but, coming from Mustafar and what we're going to be eventually seeing in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, where they do fight again, it's confirmed, seeing Obi-Wan do this little, just kind of twirl, and, just kind of like batting him away. I get it, he's trying to keep his distance from Vader, but it is very corny, it is very cheesy, it's kind of hard to watch, and I get it, you're not going to be seeing Alec Guinness do all these flips and stuff, but and technically, now for the canon nerds like myself, I do like to think I know a whole lot about the canon, and technically, the little moves Obi-Wan's doing, it is a specific Jedi stance of fighting. It's not just, oh, let's just do whatever the hell we want, and no, it's like Obi-Wan doing those weird flips and batting him away. That is a legitimate Jedi fighting stance and, you know, style. So, you know, it has purpose, but again, it is kind of rough to watch. And, you know, the infamous, you know, Scene 38 or whatever, some dude remade it on YouTube. Yeah, it's better, but, you know, technically this does work better, this film, in terms of what Obi-Wan's doing, because, you know, he's not there to engage in an epic final battle, you know what I mean? He's really there to kind of show, you know, Darth Vader, look, you know, like, if you strike me down, I will become way more powerful than you can ever imagine. And in Revenge of the Sith, we see Yoda saying, hey, on your exile, your isolation in Tatooine, talk to Qui-Gon Jinn. He discovered immortality. And that's a really nice callback. Another, really my only other negative is, you know, Darth Vader. There's a scene where Darth Vader's talking to Tarkin, and he's like, you know, he says like one kind of line or something, and he's done talking, and you see Vader clearly going like he's talking, so they clearly 80-yarded it, but, you know, it is very, it's kind of, I mean, that's a legit negative, you know, because Vader was like front in screen, you can clearly see him, and it's like me saying, pretend I have a mask on, you know, I'm wearing a Darth Vader mask, and I would say, the rebels are there, and then I stop talking, and I still go like this. That's how it looks, and it is a negative, it is something to point out. Again, it's minor, it's not like, oh my god, that line was trash. There really are no bad lines in this entire film, and there's really no bad line deliveries. I think, you know, the whole looks are droids, or, you know, whatever, but, you know, I do think that it's, there's not that many issues with that. Carrie Fisher does have a British accent for like 15 seconds of this film. Now, I don't have a problem with this now. I had a problem with this back in the day, but now, upon reading the Skywalker Family at War book, there is a canon explanation why she's British in like one scene and not the other films. You know, technically, it's a mistake. I think she's just trying to, either she was high because she loved drugs, or it was just, you know, or just be British, boy, fuck it, you know, whatever. But I do think that really, in the canon, it is explained and confirmed that Leia uses a crazy British accent for one scene to mock Tarkin, who is British. So I think that's a really good touch. Again, not a negative anymore, because now we have a reason. She's mocking him. We do get the whole, you know, Leia thing, you know, where the guy in Yavin 4 is like, oh, the planet's from Princess Leia. And I'm like, it's clearly Leia. You know, like, I get Han and Han. Leia in Empire, you know, Leia says, Han! To kind of like, you know, she's kind of mocking him. And, you know, Lando even did it in Solo. So, you know, there's a reason why they say that. But I don't know, Leia, it's not that hard to say Leia. I don't know. I mean, unless the guy just said Leia and he just made a mistake, and George, again, we kind of know George is a bit lazy. He did just kind of, I wouldn't keep it in, it's fine, whatever. You know, maybe that's why, I don't know. But, you know, that is a slight negative. But really, to be completely honest, all these little baby negatives I'm listing, it's just stuff that I'm picking up on because I'm reviewing this. When I watch this film, you know, I do notice that Darth Vader does this when he's not talking, or he says Leia, but it's not a big deal. You know, none of these negatives are a big deal. And that's really it in terms of negatives. Now, to the positives, looking at this film as the fourth film in a franchise, but the first film that released and kickstarted it all, this is a effing good movie. I mean, it looks fantastic. The CGI, you know, CGI that George kind of meddled with, the extended, or the, you know, I guess, patched versions, you know, like on Tatooine, he added like CGI Jawas or Tauntauns or whatever, you know, or not Tauntauns, you get the gist, a freaking creature, and it does look like shit because it's extremely blurry, and, you know, like, you can tell because there's a lot of matte paintings, and, you know, in 1977, there wasn't really any CGI, so, you know, they had to do, like, really specific camera tricks, and it looks great. I mean, honestly, you know, the Star Wars prequels look good, but this film, you know, for the time, this film right here, New Hope, Episode 4, looks better than the prequels, and the prequels are newer. It's kind of weird, you know, but the movie looks great. I think that George Lucas, yes, he's a bit lazy. Yes, I don't agree with a lot that he says. Yes, you know, he doesn't like to redo shots, apparently, and he likes to you know, use things, but, you know, he does have a very vivid and active imagination, and the fact that he could effing dream up worlds, like, you know, the fact that he says, like, in Episode 4, you know, I'm watching it, again, 1 to 9, so it really isn't that, oh my god, you know, crazy, but, you know, if you're watching 4 first, which I don't know why you would, but if you want to, you know, it's up to you, but, you know, when he says, oh, you know, your father fought in the Clone Wars, it's like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like, I literally say that every time, because, you know, the fact that George thought of the Clone Wars and thought of this crazy, you know, thing about Anakin being a Jedi and Darth Vader killed him, but it turns out Darth Vader's his dad, and Obi-Wan saying, oh, I don't remember owning a droid. Yeah, he owned a droid, R4, you know, in Attack of the Clones. So it is really cool that, you know, obviously Obi-Wan's lying. You can clearly tell by Alec Guinness's acting. He's hiding the truth from Luke, and we find out that is the case in Empire, so that's kind of cool. But, the fact that they just name-drop crap like Clone Wars and, Anakin, and all these really neat things, it's very, very cool when you watch the prequels first. When you go 1 to 9, it is really cool because the prequels connect perfectly to the originals, and the originals and prequels connect perfectly to the sequels. It all makes sense, and it's all one big epic 9-film saga, and that's what's really cool, is that George was able to connect the dots backwards. He was able to make up these things long before episode 1, 2, and 3 even happened. It's insane what he was able to do with that. And, there are very good acting films. I think Luke Skywalker, it's really funny. And I get it, Anakin in the prequels, especially episode 2, he's meant to be cringy and weird and awkward because he's been training for 10 years at Coruscant. And, he really hasn't seen a woman other than, Ayla Secura maybe, or, that's about it. Maybe freaking Yaddle. But other than that, he really hasn't seen too many women in his life. So Anakin acting kind of cringy and weird and, kind of stoic a lot of the times. Yeah, it can come off easily as shit writing, shit acting. But at the same time, under the canon explanation that, yeah, Anakin, and I explained this in my prequel reviews, but yeah, that's essentially the case. Luke is not a Jedi yet. He hasn't been training. He's just Luke Skywalker, age 19 or whatever. Happy-go-lucky farm boy kid from Tatooine. So it makes sense that he's more emotive and expressive. However, Mark Hamill is a very good actor in this film. Obviously he's the best in the sequels, but he is pretty good in this film. There really weren't any moments where I'm like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. There are genuinely funny moments in this film between Han and Leia and Luke. You can easily tell their banter it clicks, it snaps, Like, between Obi-Wan and Anakin, there's some weird things, and again, it's supposed to be that way. But in this film, when Han and Leia are instantly bickering, you can instantly tell they like each other just because of the bickering. It's very good filmmaking, and I think, this is tied, I think this is a little better than Revenge in terms of George writing and directing a film. But, I think it would go New Hope, Revenge, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. But, this is a very good film in terms of that acting style. And the writing's good, too. I think Han Solo's really good. I think Leia's good. Everyone's good in the film. Darth Vader's good. I think freaking, I think the, beginning of the film is really nice as well. It has a very childlike wonder to it. And I don't mean that it's for children, because I know I say this every time, but in my humble opinion, Star Wars is not for children. It's for teenagers, 12, 13, up. Not 6, 4, 3, 8, 10. That's just my opinion. Oh my god, you're wrong. Shut up. It's my opinion. So I do think that when I say it has childlike wonder, it's definitely, it's quite clearly not a children's film. Like, the first 5 minutes of the film, a whole hallway of people are shot dead, and then Vader breaks a guy's windpipe, and then, like, breaks his neck, and then freaking Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are burned alive, and you see their charred bodies, and Jawas are murdered, and, Obi-Wan gets killed, and there's X-Wing, there's a ton of death and destruction and violence in this film. It's borderline PG-13. There's blood, it's not for children. And when I say childlike wonder, I say that this, an adult was able to come up with these crazy ideas that you would think, oh, if this was coming from a 6-year-old, you'd be like, oh, crazy imagination, and then you rub them on the head, whatever. But in this, it's like, no, George Lucas, who was clearly an adult, came up with these crazy aliens, these crazy worlds, this crazy story that ties to the prequels that will eventually tie into the sequels, and it all makes sense. And this is the film that started it off, and it's a very, very, very well-made film. Again, a few issues here or there, but I think the CGI holds up. The special effects, I should say, hold up. The acting and writing hold up very well. I don't know why George Lucas just decided to suck at writing scripts, because this is a very good script. I don't really have any issues with it, so it's kind of funny, except for Luke's or droids. Apart from that, I don't really have that many issues with the writing. And if this film was garbage, we would not have the prequels or the sequels or the video games or the Lego or the whatever. This film is good, and that's why we have Star Wars, because this was a well-made product. And it holds up, Empire and Return of the Jedi hold up, and, the prequels hold up to an extent, too. But, this film really, really holds up. It's a very, very well-made film. It's got really nice, themes like Han Solo, oh, I'm only in it for the money. And then he comes back to save the day at the end, It's good stuff, good stuff all around. It's entertaining. It's a bit slow at the beginning, and, if you're going to look at this film as the first film, it makes sense, because it's the first one, it's world building. But now that we know it's the fourth of a 9-part film saga franchise, coming especially from Revenge of the Sith, which is essentially all action, adrenaline in your face. This is a bit, I don't want to say boring, because it isn't, because it's Star Wars, but it is a bit, slower compared to what the prequels were. And Phantom Menace was slow, but that makes sense again, because that is literally number one. That is literally the world-building film. And so that's understandable. But, I don't know. I mean, as far as the little negatives, like I said, Luxor droids, Darth Vader talking, and just doing this, and, they reuse shots. The Luke, they reuse that. So there are quite clearly things that they just kind of copped out some scenes, but, I mean, the amount of good in this film is, like, here's the bad all the way by my feet, and the good is above my head. And I'm not that friggin' tall, but it's a very, tall list. I mean, it's as tall as Chewbacca, if not taller, I mean, it's a very well-made film, and I cannot wait to play it in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga for myself, and then eventually for you guys as well on YouTube. So, hopefully. So I cannot wait, man. I really, really cannot wait to get into episode 5. I know these films like the back of my hand, and, I always have the same, excitement. Even for the prequels, sequels, originals, everything. The shows. If you say Star Wars, I'm like, all right, I'm there. You know what I mean? Where is it? The books, the comics, whatever. And, this film is the one that kicked everything off. Like I said, the prequels, sequels, original, or the other originals, the other sequels to the original, which is part of the original trilogy. It's weird. You get the comics, the Lego sets, the Lego video games. The reason why we're getting Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is because of this film. And because it's so freaking good. And I think that cannot be overstated that this is a good film. I had issues with 1 and 2. I had 1 or 2 issues with 3. But overall, I really enjoyed the prequels. And I'll always love them. This is the first film in the originals, and, it's a very well-made film. Again, I have 1 or 2 little minor gripes, but I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope an A, just shy of perfection. Again, if they, didn't reuse things, or, if that, Darth Vader scene wasn't, maybe if they cut away right after we stopped talking or something, or, wiped, or, whatever, the screen wipe thing, transition, it would have been better. But, that being said, this is a great film. It really is. And I think, I, of course, wasn't there in 1977. I was born in 98, so pretty freaking ways off. But it is very cool to see that there are fans who grew up with this as their first Star Wars film. And there are people that grew up with the prequels, and the sequels. So like, for example, when I say Star Wars is for kids, I stick to that. I stick to my blasters, right? I stick to my guns. However, I did see this film as maybe a 7, 8-year-old, right? Not because I wanted to, because my dad was like, "You're watching this! Sit down and watch it!" He didn't do it like that. But, he was like, "Oh, I love this film. I saw it when I was a kid." He had different parents, of course, different rules. Every family has different rules about this shit, and I sat down, I watched it, and Luke Skywalker, out of any franchise I've ever seen in my entire life, Luke Skywalker in the originals and the sequels is by far my favorite character in all of fiction, period. Nothing even comes close to Luke Skywalker in terms of my favorite character in anything. And I do think that, this is a good film. Why? Like when I was a little kid, obviously my mom didn't like me watching because, again, it's not for kids. There's violence, people die, there's blood, there's minimal, it's not like Han Solo saying, "Where the fuck," they say hell and damn, so they are curse words, and, not, the F word, but they are curse words, so, my mom was obviously like, "Yeah, I don't know," but, I was kind of scared, like, when I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time and the dude's face melts, I was, pooping my panties, but I do think that, it's a good film, and, even though I saw it before I was really supposed to, it did stick with me, the character of Luke, and it's iconic. Star Wars, it's very much, children will love it, but it's not for them. Like, children will love Call of Duty. Call of Duty's not for them. Children love Fortnite, but it's clearly rated T. It's not for kids, it's for teens, so I guess it all boils down to families, but again, I say 12, 13 up. But again, having watched this before I was 12 or 13 up, just because my dad was like, "Sit down and watch this," it was fun, and that really kickstarted my love for Star Wars. So once I was old enough to watch the prequels, I was around that 11, 12, 13 age group, I was just like, "Oh, this is awesome." And then, of course, the sequels came out, and my love for the Star Wars franchise, went even higher because of the sequels. And now it is, how it is today, and I'm, 23 years old. So it is a very important franchise to me, and this is the one that started it off. And it's such a good film. It's fun to watch. It's just such a fun film. And yeah, there's a lot of death and violence and a little bit of gore and some swearing, but it very much is, it's, even though people are getting killed, and you see, like, the X-Wings blow up and they just, like, disintegrate into ash violently, it's still a fun film to watch. And I'm not saying violence is fun, but you get the gist. It's a fun, entertaining, action-packed film, and it really laid the groundwork for everything we have. So, a few issues here or there, but again, I think it's a very, very good film, and it's one of the best, definitely the best that George Lucas made, for sure. And, I am glad that the episode 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 were not by him, because, again, I don't think he's that good of a scriptwriter or that good of a director. But, I enjoyed 1, I enjoyed 2, I really like 3, and I really like 4. But, yeah, I cannot wait to get into The Empire Strikes Back very, very soon. Tell me in the comments down below what you think about Episode 4, A New Hope. Again, can't wait to play all these levels, all these episodes, films in the Skywalker Saga. Again, I'm assuming you're watching all these reviews from 1 to 9, but in case you haven't, very, very quick, 10 seconds. I'm going to play the game for myself on Xbox Series X, and then once that happens, I'm going to then film on my base Xbox One, so the gameplay is going to be there, but it's going to be a little bit delayed. It'll still be on the channel. Boom, 10 seconds. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed. I don't want to say that every video, so I'm probably going to stop with this one, but hopefully you get the gist of the LEGO Star Wars when that comes out April 5th. But man, I can't, we're what, like freaking 5 days, depending on when this comes out, away? We're less than a week. This is going to be the longest wait of my entire life, I swear to God. Anyway, I cannot wait for Tuesday, April 5th, and I cannot wait to watch more of this epic Skywalker saga. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.